Hey, welcome back to Stoic Pathways, where we dive deep into the raw, unfiltered truths of human behavior and how to navigate this wild world with a calm, unshakable mind. Today, we're peeling back the layers on something dark, something intense. 5 signs that a person doesn't just hate you. Oh no, they want you dead. This isn't about petty grudges or fleeting anger. This is about that chilling, calculated energy that goes beyond resentment and straight into the territory of malice, so deep it's almost primal. If you've ever felt a vibe that made your gut twist, your instincts scream, but you couldn't quite put your finger on why, stay with me. We're about to decode it together, step by step, with real-world stories and a Stoic lens to keep us grounded. Because here at Stoic Pathways, we don't just react. We observe, we analyze, and we rise above. So, grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Imagine this. You're walking through your day, minding your own business, when you catch someone staring at you. Not just a glance, no, this is different. Their eyes lock onto you like a predator sizing up prey, unblinking, cold, and way too focused. That's the first sign. They fixate on you with an intensity that feels wrong. It's not casual dislike or annoyance, it's obsession dressed up as hatred. I knew a guy once, let's call him Mark. Mark had this coworker, Dave, who'd stare at him across the office every single day. At first, Mark brushed it off. Maybe Dave was just weird, right? But it wasn't random. Dave would track Mark's every move, when he grabbed water, when he laughed with someone else, even when he left for the bathroom. That stare wasn't just envy or irritation. It was like Dave was mentally rehearsing something dark. Months later, Mark found out Dave had been spreading lies to get him fired, but it didn't stop there. Dave started showing up at Mark's gym, his coffee spot, places he had no business being. That fixation wasn't just hate, it was a hunger to erase him. The Stoics teach us to notice what's in front of us without letting it rattle us, and that's key here. If someone's watching you like they're plotting your downfall, don't ignore it, observe it. It's not about paranoia, it's about clarity. Now, let's flip that coin. What if they're not staring at all? The second sign is when someone avoids you so deliberately, it's almost theatrical. They don't just dislike you, they act like you're a ghost. They refuse to acknowledge, but it's not passive, it's loaded. Think about it. When you hate someone casually, you might roll your eyes or mutter under your breath. But when someone wants you gone, really gone, they erase you from their world like you're already dead to them. I heard a story from a friend, Sarah, who had this falling out with her old roommate, Jen. After their fight, Jen didn't just move out, she turned into a phantom. If they crossed paths, Jen would pivot mid-step, look through Sarah like she wasn't there, and once even bumped into her without a flicker of recognition. It wasn't just anger, it was this eerie, intentional void. Later, Sarah found out Jen had trashed her name to mutual friends, saying she wished Sarah would disappear for good. That avoidance wasn't random. It was a sign of something deeper, a wish that went beyond words. The Stoic in me says don't chase that energy. Let them fade, but keep your eyes open. People who pretend you don't exist might be imagining a world where you really don't. All right, let's keep this rolling on Stoic Pathways, where we're breaking down the 5 signs a person doesn't just hate you, they want you dead. We've already talked about that creepy predator-like fixation and the ghostly avoidance that screams something darker. Now, let's dive into the third sign, and trust me, this one's a gut punch. They start sabotaging your life in ways that feel personal, calculated, and way too deliberate. This isn't about petty gossip or a snide comment. No, this is someone who's out to dismantle you, piece by piece, like they're playing a long game to watch you crumble. Picture this. Your reputation takes a hit. Opportunities dry up, or things you care about mysteriously fall apart, and there's a shadow behind it all, pulling strings. On Stoic Pathways, we don't flinch at the chaos, we face it head on. So, let's unpack this. I've got a story for you. There was this woman, Lisa, who ran a small business. Nothing fancy, just a bakery she poured her heart into. She had this regular customer, Tom, who seemed friendly at first, always chatting her up. But then things got weird. Orders started getting canceled out of nowhere. Suppliers she'd worked with for years ghosted her. And online reviews tanked with bizarre complaints she knew weren't true, like the cakes taste like poison. Lisa couldn't figure it out until she caught wind that Tom had been cozying up to her vendors, spreading rumors she was shutting down, even hinting she was shady. It wasn't just dislike. Tom didn't want her out of business. He wanted her gone, like her existence offended him. Turns out he'd tried opening a bakery once and failed, and Lisa's success was a mirror he couldn't stand. That sabotage wasn't random. It was personal, a slow burn to erase her. The Stoics remind us here, you can't control what others do, only how you respond. Lisa rebuilt, kept her cool, and outlasted him. But the sign was clear. When someone's tearing at your foundations, it's not just hate. It's a death wish with extra steps. Now, let's shift gears to the fourth sign. And this one's subtle but chilling. They start dropping hints, little verbal breadcrumbs that sound offhand but hit different when you really listen. Maybe it's a joke about you disappearing, or a weird comment like, the world would be better without people like you. It's casual enough to dodge confrontation, but it lingers, doesn't it? That's the point. They're testing the waters, seeing how it lands, while planting this seed of menace. I knew a guy, Alex, who had this neighbor, Karen, who'd say the strangest things. They'd argue over dumb stuff, parking spots, noise, but one day she smirked and said, "You know, accidents happen all the time around here." Another time she muttered, "Wouldn't be surprised if you just vanished one day." Alex laughed it off at first, crazy neighbor, right? But then his tires got slashed, and he saw her watching from her window, grinning. Those weren't throwaway lines, they were warnings, little flares of intent. Here at Stoic Pathways, we lean on Marcus Aurelius for this one. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Don't let those words burrow in, hear them, clock them, and stay sharp. Someone who talks like that isn't just venting. They're imagining your end. Imagine you're walking home one night, and there they are, someone who's had it out for you, standing just close enough to make your pulse jump. They don't say much, maybe nothing at all, but their presence screams intent. Or maybe it's a bump in a crowded place, harder than it needs to be, with a look that says it wasn't an accident. That's the fifth sign. They cross into your physical space to send a message. I could end you if I wanted to. I've got a story that'll stick with you. There was this guy, James, who'd pissed off his old high school buddy, Nate, over some long-forgotten drama. Years later, they ran into each other at a bar. Nate didn't yell or throw punches. He just stood there, inches from James, staring him down, breathing heavy, hands flexing like he was holding himself back. James said it felt like time stopped. Every instinct told him Nate wasn't just mad. He was picturing something final. Later that week, James found his car keyed up, and Nate drove by slow, smirking. That physical edge wasn't random, it was a taste of what Nate wanted deep down. The Stoics, like Seneca, would tell us here, fear's a choice. You can't stop their actions, but you can refuse to let them own you. James moved on, kept his distance, and didn't flinch. That's the play. See the sign, feel the weight, but don't break. Now, let's lean into that moment, because it's not just about what they do, it's about what it does to you. That encounter with Nate didn't just spook James. It lit up every nerve, every survival switch he didn't even know he had. Your body knows before your mind catches up, heart racing, palms sweaty. That split second where you're sizing up fight or flight. And that's where the real test kicks in. Someone who wants you gone isn't just flexing. They're banking on your reaction. They want you rattled, off balance, second-guessing every shadow. But here's the thing. You don't have to give them that. James didn't. He felt the heat of Nate's breath, saw the glint in his eye, and yeah, it hit him hard. But he didn't crack. He walked away, head up, not because he wasn't shaken, but because he chose not to let it define him. That's the Stoic edge, acknowledging the tremor without letting it take the wheel. Think about how that physical move lands differently than the other signs. The stares, the avoidance, the sabotage, the words, they're all at a distance, needling you from the edges. But this is them stepping over the line, making it tangible. It's not a threat you can shrug off as paranoia. It's there, in your space, close enough to feel the air shift. I knew a woman, Dana, who dealt with this from a guy she'd turned down. He'd linger outside her apartment, not close enough to call the cops, but near enough to make her skin crawl. One day he tripped and slammed into her on the sidewalk. Full shoulder, no apology, just a stare that pinned her in place. She told me it wasn't the bruise that got her. It was the way he stood there after, like he was daring her to push back. That's the message. I'm here and I can touch you. It's power, raw and unspoken, and it's meant to sink in deep. But let's flip that. What's driving them to get that close? It's not just anger. Anger's loud and sloppy, over in a flash. This is colder, more deliberate, like they've run the math and decided you're a problem they need to solve. Take Nate. He didn't lash out at the bar because the grudge wasn't fresh. It was old, festering, something he'd carried until he saw James and thought, now's my shot. Or Dana's guy, he didn't scream or chase her. He waited, watched, then made his move when she was alone. That physical step isn't impulse. It's the endgame of a quiet obsession, the point where they're done hinting and ready to act. It's not about winning an argument or proving a point. It's about erasing you, one way or another. Here's a twist, though. Sometimes it's not even planned. I heard about a guy, Paul, who had this neighbor, Greg, who'd always been off. Greg would glare, mutter, keep his distance. Until one night, Paul's walking his dog, and Greg's just there, blocking the path. No words, just standing, fists clenched, eyes locked. Paul sidestepped, but Greg shifted too, brushing him hard enough to stumble. It wasn't choreographed, it was instinct. Like Greg's hate boiled over, and his body moved before his brain caught up. Paul laughed it off later, but he started locking his doors tighter. That's the wild card with this sign. It can be calculated or chaotic, but either way, it's a line crossed. The Stoics would nod here. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Point is, don't dwell, just deal. So, how do you handle it when someone's in your space like that? First, you breathe. Sounds simple, but it's your anchor. Dana did it. She took a slow breath, stepped back, and kept walking, eyes forward. You don't escalate unless you have to. They want the reaction, not the win. Second, you read the room. James knew Nate wasn't swinging, yet. So he didn't push, just left. Paul saw Greg's twitchy vibe and didn't engage. It's not cowardice, it's clarity. You're not there to play hero or punching bag. You're there to keep your ground intact. Third, you reset the boundary. Distance if you can, move, avoid, block. If you can't, like with a coworker or neighbor, you make it public. Stay where others see, keep it neutral, give them nothing to grip onto. Seneca's got the vibe. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Don't let their shadow stretch bigger than it is, but let's get real. It sticks with you. That night James got home, he didn't sleep easy. Dana kept checking her locks. Paul started taking a different route. That physical brush isn't just a moment. It's a weight you carry until you shake it off. And that's the Stoic challenge. Feel it, sure, but don't feed it. They want you haunted. Don't let them rent space in your head. I knew a guy, Leo, who had an ex-boss pull this. Guy would run into Leo at the gym, elbow him on the bench press, smirk like it was a game. Leo didn't confront. He switched gyms, kept his routine, let the guy fade. Months later, the boss got fired for something else, and Leo was still lifting. That's the win. You outlast their noise. What's wild is how this ties back to the other signs. That fixation Nate had, it led him to that bar. The avoidance Dana's guy used, it built to that sidewalk shove. The sabotage, the hints, they're all rungs on a ladder to this physical peak. It's not random, it's a story they've been writing, and you're the ending they're chasing. But you're not a character in their plot, you're the one holding the pen. Epictetus said it, no man is free who is not master of himself. They can step into your space, but they don't get your soul. You see it, you feel it, you move through it. That's the Stoic pathways way. Eyes open, heart steady, feet firm. And yeah, it's heavy. That moment when someone's close enough to make your skin prickle, when you feel the air thicken with what they're not saying, it's primal. But you're not prey. You're not a victim of their story. You're the one who decides what's next. They might want you gone, but wanting's not having. James kept driving, scratches and all. Dana kept living, locks and all. Paul kept walking, new route and all. You keep going, because that's what this is about. Not their darkness, but your light. They can loom, bump, smirk all they want. You're still here, and that's the final word. So, there you have it. 5 signs that go beyond hate into something darker, something lethal. The fixation that tracks your every move, the avoidance that erases you, the sabotage that dismantles your world, the hints that whisper their fantasy, and the physical push that makes it real. These aren't just emotions. They're steps on a path most won't admit they're walking. Here at Stoic Pathways, we don't panic over this stuff. We study it. Why? Because knowledge is power, and staying calm in the face of it is strength. Think about your own life for a second. Ever felt that vibe? That prickle on your neck? Don't ignore it, but don't let it rule you either. The Stoic way is to observe, adapt, and keep moving forward, no matter who's lurking in the shadows. If this hit you, drop a comment. Tell me your stories, your thoughts. Subscribe if you haven't, because we're just getting started unpacking the real stuff on Stoic Pathways. Until next time, stay sharp, stay steady, and I'll see you in the next one.